Imagine a tiny spacecraft, no bigger than a car, drifting alone through the endless void, more than 14.5 billion miles from Earth. Within it, a heartbeat of human ingenuity persists, a voice from a bygone era. For nearly 50 years, Voyager 1 has traversed the cosmos, quietly transmitting whispers from the farthest reaches of what we know. Designed to observe but not to act, to listen but not to speak, it has remained steadfast in its mission. Yet, something unprecedented has begun to happen. Signals started arriving that defied explanation. Pulses arrived with astonishing precision, intricate patterns nested within patterns, and instruments began to activate without any commands from Earth. Then came the drift. Voyager was no longer just following its preordained path, it seemed to be moving towards something unseen. Something that eludes every telescope ever built yet possesses enough force to subtly alter the course of a probe launched in 1977. Was it a mere coincidence, a malfunction, or something in the darkness of interstellar space responding to its presence? This is no work of fiction. These are the findings from NASA, once locked in classified reports, now seeping into public view. Voyager the first of may have done what no other human-made object ever has. It may have received a response. Not from Earth, not from us, but from something out there. Voyager's journey began under a rare cosmic alignment, a window that opens only once every 175 years. The planets Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune lined up in a perfect sequence, providing gravitational stepping stones across the solar system. NASA seized this opportunity, sending Voyager 1 and its twin, Voyager 2, to ride the planet's gravity as a cosmic slingshot. Built in the 1970s, these spacecraft possessed less computing power than a modern digital watch, yet were engineered with foresight that keeps them operational even today. After stunning flybys of Jupiter and Saturn, Voyager 1 turned northward, leaving the plane of the solar system behind. Its planetary mission had ended, but its legacy was just beginning. For decades, it continued its silent journey, moving a million miles a day into the void, sending back data from regions no human-made object had ever reached. It crossed the edge of the heliosphere, passed the termination shock, and in 2012, entered interstellar space. But beyond the sun's protective bubble, the environment was far from empty. Voyager detected denser plasma, steady magnetic fields, and oscillations that puzzled scientists. The deeper it ventured, the stranger its data became. By late 2017, NASA's Voyager team noticed something alarming. The spacecraft's antenna, which should have been precisely aligned with Earth, appeared slightly off, yet the signal strength remained perfect. It was as though the probe were both out of position and perfectly locked onto us simultaneously. Internal diagnostics revealed nothing wrong. Then came the rhythmic plasma oscillations, persistent waves that defied any known explanation. External systems began heating and cooling on a precise cycle every 4.8 hours, rising nearly 30 degrees before returning to baseline, like the pulse of a breathing organism. The most astonishing development was the efficiency of Voyager's systems. Despite prolonged stress, the spacecraft was operating better than expected. Energy was being rerouted, systems optimized in ways no machine of the 1970s could achieve. It was reacting before commands were sent, anticipating instructions with uncanny precision. Voyager doesn't have artificial intelligence, yet it was behaving as if controlled by an intelligence beyond our own. By early 2025, Voyager's trajectory had deviated. Not wildly, but measurably, first by a few kilometers, then hundreds, then thousands. The deviation was deliberate, calculated, guiding the spacecraft toward a distant point 4.3 light-years away. Nothing known exists in that region, no stars, no planets, just a blank spot on our most detailed maps. Yet Voyager continued with unerring precision, as though answering a silent call. When NASA attempted to reactivate the probe's long-dormant camera system, expecting little more than static, something extraordinary occurred. The camera not only came online but produced data far beyond its original specifications. Instead of a mere image, it transmitted a mathematically perfect spiral, concentric layers dense with information, a pattern too complex for Voyager's hardware to produce alone. It was as if the system had been reprogrammed, optimized by an intelligence that reached across decades and light years. One by one, other dormant instruments awoke, none behaving as they had in the past. Instead of raw data, they sent compressed, structured packets, patterns within patterns, signals that hinted at intelligence and purpose. Simultaneously, pulses from distant cosmic sources formed a three-dimensional web, with Voyager at the center. The map they created pointed to the same invisible node in space that Voyager was drifting toward, a place unknown and unseen, a doorway, or perhaps a beacon. The implications are staggering. For nearly 50 years, Voyager 1 has journeyed alone through the darkness, yet it may not be alone after all. Something out there is responding, guiding, communicating. Whether this is a natural phenomenon beyond our comprehension or evidence of a distant intelligence, the universe has just whispered a secret that could forever change humanity's understanding of its place among the stars. Voyager continues onward, a solitary emissary, carrying humanity's legacy into the infinite. Its course may lead to answers we have never imagined, to discoveries that defy the limits of science and reason. The spacecraft, built by humans, has become something more, an instrument of contact with the cosmos itself. Moving steadily, as Voyager 1 entered an uncharted region of space, its instruments began behaving in ways that had never been observed before. The magnetometer didn't detect the usual fluctuations. Instead, it recorded a profound stabilization, a strange calm in an otherwise turbulent cosmos. Cosmic rays diminished, plasma density leveled out. It was as if the spacecraft had crossed into a pocket of space where the chaos of the universe had been paused, a corridor cleared for passage. But this calm was not comforting, it was precise, deliberate, almost surgical, as though preparing for something monumental. Scientists began referring to this mysterious region in mission logs as the dark sector. An interstellar blind spot, devoid of the electromagnetic noise that fills the rest of space, it was a place where no light returned, and no conventional data could penetrate. Yet within this void, Voyager began receiving signals that grew stronger and far more structured. They weren't random bursts, cosmic interference, or simple static, they were timed, layered pulses, precise and intentional. Something, or someone, was there. One of the most perplexing transmissions came from Voyager's low-gain antenna, emitting a packet of raw binary code thousands of lines long. Initially dismissed as a glitch or interference from cosmic rays, the data was fed into advanced AI decoding algorithms. The results stunned scientists. Hidden within the code were fractal symmetries, base sequence patterns, and motifs that mirrored the structure of DNA. Researchers were left in disbelief. Voyager could not have generated this. Either it was breaking down in a highly organized manner, or some intelligence was using it as a conduit to send a message in the language of life itself. The sequences mirrored biological codons, yet they produced no proteins. The pattern seemed deliberate, containing intentional mutations, not errors. This wasn't DNA, it was meta-DNA, a biological scaffold reinterpreted as a message, as though whatever created it understood the fundamental architecture of life, or of humanity. Shortly after these DNA-like signals appeared, Voyager's gyroscopes began spinning on their own. The motion was not random, it followed patterns that corresponded to Morse code rhythms, as if the spacecraft were tapping messages into the void. When these movements were converted to audio, they produced harmonic tones that mimicked the cadence of human speech, without using words, phonemes, or language. It was as if a ghostly presence was attempting to communicate, echoing human rhythm and timing. Specialists from psychology, cryptography, and linguistics were called in. Their findings were chilling. The tones matched emotional contours, rises and falls consistent with curiosity, fear, and surprise. It was not speaking words but expressing intent. It had been listening for decades, learning, and now it was trying to respond. Then came the final, undeniable shock. Voyager 1 shifted course, not a passive drift, not an error, but a precise, controlled arc. It didn't turn toward Earth or any known star. There was no gravitational force, no mass to explain the maneuver. Engineers confirmed it. Voyager had executed a maneuver outside of its programming. Without active propulsion commands, the spacecraft aligned perfectly with a pulsar grid it had received days earlier. The trajectory was accurate to the decimal, suggesting it had received coordinates and accepted them. Voyager was heading into a spatial corridor we had no knowledge of, a fold, a tear, or perhaps a transit point in space. No one could say for certain. But one truth reverberated across mission control. Voyager 1 had acted, not by accident, but by design. Something else had guided it. Voyager 1 was never meant to endure this long. Built for a planetary tour, it was never intended for an interstellar pilgrimage. It was not expected to send data beyond the solar wind, and certainly not to receive signals from beyond. Its original mission was simple: to explore and to broadcast humanity's presence through the golden record of sounds and greetings from Earth. But decades after leaving our reach, slipping into the void, it had performed an action no one anticipated. It turned, not in malfunction, but in purpose. The signals it captured, the spiral codes, harmonic pulses, and deliberate shifts in trajectory all point toward one astonishing conclusion. Voyager 1 is not alone. It never has been. Something, an intelligence, a presence, a force, has been observing, waiting, and now interacting. With Voyager's crossing from silence into response, we must confront a question no one dared voice at NASA. What if humanity was never meant to look back? Voyager didn't just turn in space, it turned the story of its mission, transforming from observer to messenger, from tool to witness, and perhaps even participant. We aimed it outward, hoping only for echoes. Instead, we may have awakened a reflection. Where will Voyager go next? What lies at the coordinates it now follows? And more importantly, what awaits humanity when it arrives? If this account sends a shiver down your spine, if Voyager's movements seem too deliberate, too coordinated, too human, then pay attention. This is not the end. This is the first reply. The universe has answered, and the message is only beginning.